Hi everyone, happy Saturday. Another week has passed and we are back with another amazing episode for you guys. Of course, we have so much to get into today. I, first of all, am in the most amazing mood because today is the day the Rockefeller tree is being put up. I've been watching it on live all morning. It's still being put up right now, and I am just so excited to see it fully done. And it made me start deep diving into how the tree comes to be. And when I started researching what actually happens each year, I was in shock. First of all, they have a completely different tree every single year, which I guess makes sense because it's out of like the ground and not getting water or anything. But it's actually super cool how they pick the tree. So there is this guy named Eric, and he is the head gardener at the Rockefeller Center. And his whole job all year is basically going around to different areas. Here's my cat. He said, she's podcasting. I need to be known. Hi, baby. He's literally, I can't with him. Where was I going with that? Anyway, so he goes all around looking for trees that are about 75 feet tall. They also have to be dense enough so that you can't see the sky through the tree, which I thought was really, really interesting. So he'll drive around. If he sees a tree he likes, he'll literally just knock on their door and ask. Otherwise, a lot of people who are growing trees in their own yard or acreage or whatever, they can submit a picture through the Rockefeller website. Now, when I was doing this, I was assuming that whoever is giving up their really big tree that I'm sure they've been working on for years and years will get a good bit of money for it, and they don't get any money. It's literally just to say, yeah, I grew the tree that's up at Rockefeller Center this year. So I just thought that was really, really cool. And then once they pick the tree, they go cut it down with a crane, and then it is delivered to Rockefeller Center where it's decorated with the lights and star. And then this is a really cool part. After the holiday season, the tree is donated to Habitat for Humanity, and they use all of the wood and lumber to build homes, which I thought was so, so cool, so amazing. And then this year, the tree was actually from Massachusetts. So that is where they hauled it from and are now putting it up into Rockefeller Center. And fun fact, next month is my husband and I's 1-year anniversary of getting married. And then 2 years ago, I think, when I say years to me now, I don't know what happened in any year. All the years kind of are the same to me and are all just jumbled. But we got engaged in New York City. And so when we go back next month. I'm praying they have the tree we got engaged at, because we got engaged like a little ways out of the Rockefeller Center area, and there was like stairs you go down, and then there was this really, really, really big tree in the middle of like these buildings, and we got engaged in front of that. And it was, to me, like way more special than getting engaged in front of Rockefeller Center, because I feel like a lot of people get engaged there, and it was really crowded, and the place we were at, it wasn't crowded at all, and it was really, really special. So we'll be going back there, definitely gonna go see the Rockefeller tree, but also hopefully find our tree that we got engaged at, and I hope it's still there. But yeah, that's a little tree news for you guys if you're interested. I love doing deep dives on things because it didn't even cross my mind that this is like a whole process each and every year, and they go around the houses and the people don't even get paid. But I guess it's cool for them to just say like, yeah, our tree is up in Rockefeller Center. I wonder if they get flown out or something, or can drive and get like a free trip to see it, because they should do that, because I mean, give them something, you know what I mean? Anyways, we have a really great episode for you guys today. We're saving the whole BRIANNA Zach Bryan stuff for the last story today. I have been just like, my head, I'm just so angry at Zach Bryan, and I have never liked Zach Bryan, never listened to any of his music. I just like got weird vibes from him, clearly, for good reason, because this guy's an asshole, and I hope that if you are a fan of him, you can kind of take a step back and be like, oh, he's literally a massive abuser and probably did way worse stuff than we have learned from these past couple days. Anyway, we'll get into all of it at the end of the episode. And we also have a story that is a spoiler to a season finale of some show that came out. And I tell you guys all the time, I do have timestamps. I don't know why I said I tell you guys all the time like I'm your mother. But yeah, I have timestamps of what stories we're talking about and how long they go on for. So if you want to skip the story, go down to the description in YouTube or Spotify right now I'll give a disclaimer too before I talk about the show, and you can just skip to the next timestamp of the next story so that it's not spoiled for you, because I would not want to spoil anything. It got spoiled for me because I was scrolling on Instagram and I was like, well, I had to talk about it on the podcast because this is crazy, but I know some of you guys probably haven't seen it yet, so just I'll give a disclaimer and then you can just go down to the description and go to where the next story starts and you won't be spoiled by anything. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get into some hot gossip, hot take, stories, and advice. I'll have you saying literally what? Okay, as we know, we are entered into the times of darkness. It is so dark out so early. I was driving back a couple of days ago and I was needing to get gas, and so in my head I was like, I don't like pumping gas at night. I don't like pumping gas in general, but I was by myself, and so I was like, well, my husband can't pump the damn gas for me. So I was planning out when to stop at the gas station before it gets dark outside. Come to find out, like, I'm driving, it's 5:55, all of a sudden it's literally like basically pitch black. So I ended up having to pump gas in the dark, and I just feel like every day it gets darker and darker, earlier and earlier, and I can't stand it. But I told you guys I was going to research. We were going to give you positive ways of rethinking about this whole time where it's dark out, and I actually feel a lot better about these few months where it's so dark out because of all the research I did. And there's actually a lot in nature that is beneficial for humans when it's dark outside, and a lot of like benefits to us. So we're going to talk about all of it for our first story. And I just want you guys to listen, even if you don't struggle with like seasonal blues, seasonal depression. These are really, really cool things that I didn't even know were in nature or like a thing. So definitely stick around for this, because hopefully you'll learn something that will benefit you in these times of darkness, I guess you could say. But it's actually really interesting, like really, really cool stuff. So let's just jump into how to reframe our thinking around seasonal blues to kind of enjoy little moments and enjoy this time and really embrace it and make the most of it, because it is a really special time. We're coming up on holidays, seeing our family. There's a lot of really cool things coming up. So first things first is blue light. If you know, blue light is very calming. If you have lights in your room, I'm sure you've heard, turn the lights blue in your room because then it'll be calming for you to go to bed. So actually, the time before sunrise and then after the sun sets, there is a blanket that goes over the whole Earth's atmosphere, and it's like a blue light, and it covers the whole Earth, and it's calming on the nervous system. And so this would be a perfect time to get out and go into nature. This is when I've kind of worked around my routines. Having animals too, it kind of like messes up my dog, because she's like, wait a second, it's dark outside. Like, I need to go outside and do like my nightly walk. And I'm like, no, it's literally 5 p.m. I haven't even fed you dinner yet. But I've been trying to go outside right like when the sun's setting and then into when it's kind of dark outside to walk her, because of this blanket of blueness that's kind of just bringing us calmness, if that makes any sense. And so basically each season of the 4 seasons is a different color that the Earth's atmosphere kind of like puts a blanket on over. I didn't research what the other 3 colors are, but for the winter time, it gives us blue light, and now is the perfect time to enjoy that, and just like it will provide your body just a sense of calmness, because that's what blue light does, and especially natural blue light. I mean, I didn't even know that was a thing, and I think that's really, really cool and amazing that we can only experience that during this time. So I've been doing my walks during the blue light, and I don't know, it hasn't made my dog calmer because she's just crazy like me, but definitely try that out. This next term is called apricity. I don't know about you guys, but I love learning about different terms that mean just like really niche human feelings we have that we don't have definitions for. And this is one of those. So this is the feeling of the sun's warmth on cold days. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on vacations up to the mountains, retreats, just different times where you would go outside with a cup of coffee and it would be cold outside. You're in like your PJs, you might have a blanket, a robe on, but then you feel the sun shining down on you, and it's like one of the most peaceful feelings in the world, and that's the name for apricity. So this is one of the great quiet joys of life, and this can only be experienced in the wintertime, which I think is really cool. So this is just encouraging you to grab a book, blanket, coffee, go sit on your front porch and just kind of feel the sun's warmth on you in the mornings when, you know, the world's kind of waking up, and also you'll just kind of feel that warmth. But it's also just like such a cool feeling to be like sitting in the cold, chill weather and then the sun is just shining on you. I don't know. I love this. And again, this is something that we can only really experience during the wintertime. All right, next is time with the moon. I love the moon. I think the moon is something that's very overlooked unless there's like a blue moon, blood moon, something like that, full moon. And so during the winter time, this is when we have a better chance to see the moon more clearly. And so the moon is really great for just being a grounding force, and it's very powerful, and it's tend to be forgotten about again until it's a full moon. So for winter, it's just a great time to kind of see the moon. And I will say, we take our dog to the dog park a lot, and we do it at night when it's pitch black. And I've noticed now, like, I'll look up and the moon is just so full and the stars are all around it, and I'll literally just stare up at the sky at the moon and stars. And it's such a like cool feeling that you are such a small like person, and if you're going through things, if there's something going on in your life, if you have problems, like the problems are so small and it's insignificant to like the whole world. Like, you're on earth, you're one being on earth. Yes, you are going to do great and amazing things, but also like there's just so much out there. And to kind of like, it made me like sit back for a second and be like, just kind of sit in my presence and try to be calm and be like, I am my own person. I live on this earth. Like, look how big the world is. And I'm, you know, I don't want to be like your life, but you know what I mean? Like, you're just like, your problems aren't that big. You know what I mean? Anyway, I just thought that was really cool. And whenever I look up at the moon, it brings me a lot of peace and relief. I don't think I worded any of that correctly, but that's just how I feel about it in the moment. All right, so our next term, I'm not going to pronounce it right at all. It's HYGGE, maybe HYGGE, I don't know. But this is a Danish and Norwegian term. Again, another term that is just a cool feeling that us as humans experience. And this is the feeling of creating warmth, safety, comfort, community, and serenity in the wintertime. So when I was picturing this word and writing it out, to me, I thought of being in my living room, fireplace on, a Christmas tree, maybe watching a movie, maybe having a candle lit, having something simmering on the stove. That was to me like, this is my HYGGE, however the heck you say it. And so to achieve this word, HYGGE, I guess we'll say in your home, you can do that by just having like a really comfort night with your family, a cozy night with friends, cozy game night, Christmas movie night, candles, fresh linens, anything that's just cozy and comforting. That's going to bring the HYGGE into your room during the winter months, and it's just going to help create that sense of peace in your life, which I think is really, really cool. And the last one, this term I only knew about from my fantasy, fae, fairy books that I read, and I thought this was just a term and an event in these books, but you guys, this is an actual thing that happens. And if you struggle with the seasonal blues, hopefully this will kind of give you a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is called winter solstice. Now, if you specifically have read the ACOTAR series, like me, one of my, if not favorite series of books, of fantasy books, they have a winter solstice, and I just assumed, oh, this is a really cool event in the book. But you guys, this is a real life thing. This year it's happening December 22nd, I believe. So winter solstice, this is when day and night are equal. This is when we're going to get into light coming back into the nighttime, and it's that turning point of we're gonna start getting more light. And here's my cat again, center of attention. So people were saying online, it's really great to use this winter solstice as a guide of, you made it through the darkest times, and now it's just going to continue to get lighter and lighter and lighter. And it just hopefully will bring people more joy of this winter solstice, of like, you know, it's going to get better. It's just going to get lighter and lighter from here on out. And I thought it was just really encouraging. And I might want to host a winter solstice party because this is so cool knowing it's a real thing and not just in my fantasy books. And the last thing I want to say is it is 100% okay to not, he literally sees himself in the camera. This is so funny. But it's okay if you don't love the darkness of winter, if you don't love the chillness of winter. But hopefully by looking at all of these cool things that nature has given us and just the different, like the blue light, like it's just so cool to think about all these different things that we have as tools to kind of be more present and think more positively about these winter months. And I just encourage everyone to use this time. I always think of it as like, you know how animals go into hibernation for wintertime? For me, this time is like, I'm going into hibernation. This is when I'm going to make my home super cozy and comfy. I'm going to rest. I'm going to relax. I'm going to take time for myself and, you know, just enjoy the slower, quieter times. And I've been going to bed way earlier, been getting up a lot earlier, and I feel good. And I think a lot of us put, you know, I'm going to better myself and I'm going to do everything right starting the, you know, beginning of 2025. But this is really the time where I think we need to kind of take a step back and focus on ourselves and just create that cozy atmosphere and kind of better ourselves. So I think that's really exciting. Hopefully this has somewhat shifted your thoughts on these months and daylight savings in general. And let me know what you think. These words were just so cool to me, and I'm definitely going to be implementing them into just my home and making my home really cozy. And, you know, don't stop going outside just because it's dark out. I think there's a lot to love about being outside when the moon and stars are out. And again, that blue blanket of light that's going all over us, and just, you know, it's a good time. It doesn't have to be bad just because it's dark out. And I think hopefully these terms and everything kind of reframed our thinking about it a little bit more. So that was my encouragement for you guys. I know it definitely helped me. And if you stuck along for all of that, thank you so much, because it was actually really fun researching all of this and how nature works and everything, and just how the world and like how God put everything together in like everything is so perfect. And I think for me, I second guess a lot, and it's like, you don't need to second guess. Like, it's nature. Like, it's perfect, and like, it's there for you. Like, go outside. Seriously. Going outside, I swear, heals and fixes everything. I love going outside. And also, if you know me, like, I never wear shoes. I love just being barefoot. And I think it is just because in nature, like, when your feet are touching the ground, like, you are grounding yourself. And I think it's just like such a beautiful thing. So anyway, I love nature. I could talk about it forever, but we'll move on to the more gossipy, hot stories that I'm sure you all are here for. So we're going to jump into our first one, which I'm sure you've seen online, and that is about Jason KELCE. And he was slamming a guy's phone down and then made an apology saying that he greeted hate with hate. And so we're going to talk about it because I know everyone was like sticking up for him, and I might have a hot take on it. I don't know. We'll see what you guys think. But basically, Jason KELCE was at a Penn State Beaver Stadium game. It was the Penn State Ohio State game, and there was a video on social media where KELCE's walking outside the stadium holding a case of beer surrounded by fans. And then in the background, there's this guy who's like recording Jason KELCE, and he's shouting like all these homophobic slurs, describing Travis Kelce and about like how he's with Taylor Swift. And it was just like gross, crass, like you do not need to be saying these things. And finally, Jason KELCE turns around, grabs the man's phone and smashed it to the ground. Then he picks it up and walks away. And then another video showed the man chasing after KELCE and asking for his phone. And then in the video, KELCE repeats the slur back to the person. So then obviously we know Jason KELCE does the whole like football Monday night thing on ESPN, and he said he lives his life by the golden rule, which is to treat others as one would want to be treated. And in that moment, I fell down to a level that I shouldn't have. He said, I try to treat people with common decency and respect. I'm going to keep doing that moving forward, even though I fell short this week. And he, stated he met hate with hate and all of that. So my first like hot take is I don't understand why Jason KELCE, to me, like from public perception and seeing videos of him, he kind of acts like he's not famous. I don't know if you guys have felt this way as well, but I see a lot of videos of him and his wife and kids. They were leaving the Taylor Swift concert just like with general admission, and like, yeah, they have police around them, but I feel like he's the brother of the brother who's dating probably the most popular and famous person in the world right now. Like, she is so famous, and there is so much hate surrounding her and Travis, I'm sure, because she is just so famous, and everyone knows who they are. And so I always see him walking around just like all these people. Like, why are you walking around this idiot who's like calling you names and like picking a fight? I don't understand why he's around the general public. And because it's not even just because like, oh, you're famous, like you should like have security and like private tunnels and like all that. It's just, for me, more of a safety hazard because you have like little girls, you have a wife. It just is weird to me how he's kind of handling it all. And maybe, again, I have that wrong and I'm perceiving it wrong, but that's how I feel about him. And like, again, he's at this football game walking with the general public, and of course like people are going to go up and harass him. I'm sure they were all drinking, and that's kind of what led to that altercation as well, but just so weird to me. Now, about the whole situation, I think people in general, when it comes to celebrities, feel this level of like, I can't think of the word. I have it on the tip of my tongue, but they just feel like they can go up and say whatever they want to celebrities and do whatever they want and like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can't do that. I think people need to learn that words have consequences. And yes, like, I'm a firm believer that actions speak louder than words, but I think that people need to realize like your words, your actions, how you treat people, like those will have consequences. And I think this was a great example of that. And I love that this guy who was just so awful and rude got, you know, what I'm sure a lot of people want to do in general when you're not famous, and that Jason KELCE was able to do that, because I'm sure, I mean, he has enough money. Like, if the guy was going to sue him, like, okay, I'm sure he has enough money to, you know, but I think, you know, to me, do I think that he should have slammed the phone down and called him the slur back? No. But again, I love how supportive he was and protective, not supportive, but protective of his brother and of Taylor Swift. And, you know, I'm surprised he didn't punch the guy in the face. Like, at least the guy didn't get punched in the face, and I think the guy got let off a lot easier than what Jason KELCE probably wanted to do. I think drinking, again, was definitely involved in that. But I think that just the harassment of celebrities needs to stop, and I think Jason KELCE is probably one of the only celebrities who stood up to someone and been like, you know what? No, you're not going to get away with that. And, you know, obviously smash the phone. And like, my only thought was like, will he have to buy the kid a new phone, or like, how is that all gonna work? Because I don't even know if we know who the kid is yet. I don't know, but I love how he took responsibility. He was like, you know, I greeted hate with hate. And yeah, I don't love how he reacted to the guy, and I wish that he wasn't always around these general population people who probably, like, you know, I'm sure there's so many football guys that don't like Taylor Swift, and I don't know, just the whole situation I think was really unfortunate. And you know, I understand his reaction. I don't agree 100%, but I understand, and I'm glad that he took responsibility and just talked about, you know, I don't like to do that, and I definitely went against my morals and what I think was right. So I did like that. But crazy video. I mean, yeah, wow. And honestly, that guy who raised him, like, I'll see videos of people and I just can't understand, like, how can you just be so hateful and just say such mean things to some, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. And where are his parents? Crazy. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit more happier news, and this is about my favorite show in the whole entire world, a show I currently have on downstairs. It's constantly playing in my house, and that is The Office. So if you didn't know, there is a podcast called The Office Ladies where Pam and Angela, they do like recaps of each episode. They have a lot of guests come on, you know, the directors, writers, and this week they had on their casting director, and she had a lot to say about who were discussed to play certain main characters, and I thought it was really, really interesting to see. Obviously, I think the casting of The Office is perfection and like chef's kiss, but she had a lot to say, so we're gonna talk about it. Her name is Allison Jones, and she is, again, the casting director. My Siri is literally going off. But Allison Jones, the casting director, basically went on The Office Ladies, and from the looks of it and from what I was listening to, The Office could have looked a lot different. So Jennifer Fisher and Angela Kinsey, they are the hosts of the Office Ladies podcast, and they were learning about people who originally were supposed to play the role of Michael Scott. So even before they did casting, the writers and everyone were kind of brainstorming who can play Michael Scott, because obviously they were kind of taking it after the British version of The Office, and so they kind of already had ideas in their head of who they wanted to play these characters. So she said, I remember vividly the first meeting we had with the network when creator Greg Daniels had a list of names. They were like, let's try Philip Seymour Hoffman, and then, let's go for Paul Giamatti or whatever. She said she was so jaded that she thought neither actor would be interested in the show because at that time, nobody did TV and comedy was the bottom of the barrel, which I thought was really interesting. Because now it's like one of the most popular things to do is to be in like a comedy TV show. But Greg Daniels wanted the new series to be pretty close to the original British series they were remaking, and the show used actors that didn't look, different from an actual office worker. And obviously, I mean, Philip Seymour and Paul Giamatti would be great for that look. And another thing that's really interesting is if you watch the first season of The Office, everyone looks literally like if you go to any office building, that's what you're going to find. And you learn that, I'm pretty sure on the pilot, they showed up in their own clothes. They barely had any makeup on. Like, they wanted it to look very much like an office. And I think that's one of the really cool things about the show is it's just so raw and real. And I love the show. Oh my gosh, I could spend forever talking about it. Anyway, Nancy Perkins, who was the head of casting at NBC, she said she always knew that Steve Carell would be a top choice for this. And they tried to cast the show without him, and brought in a lot of people, but everybody was a different version of Michael Scott that could have worked. And they said that basically like everyone who auditioned for Michael Scott like could have worked, because obviously he's such like a niche character and there's only so many people who could kind of embrace Michael Scott, if you know what I mean. And so Steve Carell was actually on another show called Papa, but it was canceled after 4 episodes. And so then he was able to come join The Office, and that's how it came to be. So I guess they auditioned a lot of other people, but the head of NBC knew that she wanted Steve Carell, and, as fate would have it, his show got canceled, and here he is. Another really interesting thing is Angela Kinsey, who plays Angela, she actually auditioned for Pam. And Catherine Hahn was also in the waiting room, and she was auditioning for Angela, which I think she would have made a good Angela too, because Angela's so just like resting bitch face kind of thing and just like always in a crabby mood. Also, I think Rain, who was Dwight, I also think he auditioned for Jim. It was just really cool seeing like who auditioned for who, and everything came together to be perfect. And also, if you didn't know, Phyllis Vance, she was on casting for The Office, and also Toby, Paul, what's his name? Paul Liebenstein. They were both just like casting and writers, and also BJ Novak and Mindy Kaling. They were all writers casting, and so they didn't really have a spot on the show, but then they ended up getting put in the show because they loved how they were reading with the other people. So there's just so much behind the scenes that's so cool about The Office. Another last fun fact I'll throw at you. They put Toby, Kelly, and Ryan all in the back and not in the main office area because they were writers on the show, and so they obviously couldn't be in most of the scenes because they were in other rooms writing and editing. So that's just a really cool little tidbit, because that's why they're always in the back in the annex, because they can't be with everyone else. So anyway, yeah, I thought this was just really cool seeing, because you hear a lot about who might have been Angela or Pam or who auditioned for who, but you don't really hear a lot about Michael Scott. But yeah, I think the other two, honestly, they would have played great Michael Scotts, but Steve Carell will always just be number one in my heart. Okay, so next story. This is going to be the spoiler for the Outer Banks season 4 finale. So if you haven't seen it yet, go down to the timestamps, go to the next story. You'll see the time down there and then start there. Okay, because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but I have to talk about it. So go. Are you all gone? Okay. Outer Banks season 4 finale. Let me preface by saying I stopped watching Outer Banks season 2 and I watched maybe 1 or 2 of season 3, but I feel like a lot of shows, the first and second season are amazing, and then it just kind of like the story was told and now they're trying to do more and it's just like too much for me. So I have not seen most of season 3, any of season 4. I get on Instagram and see a spoiler that they killed off a major character for the season 4 finale. All I knew in my head was, please don't let it be JJ, because he is my favorite character. Like, from season 1, episode 1, he's always my favorite. Like, everyone else, they could be killed off. Like, it's fine. So I'm not thinking they're going to kill him off. I'm not thinking they're going to really kill any of the main people off, because why would they do that? And I know they're filming for one more season, so I was like, surely they want to keep everyone together for the last season. No, they kill off JJ. And the worst part is, apparently JJ's dad is the one that kills him. So I was freaking out. I was in shock, and I was even in shock, and I haven't seen most of it, but I was just like that much, like, I loved these people in season 1 and 2. I was like, why would, like, I just couldn't believe it. So I can't imagine how you guys are feeling if you've seen it. All of it, like, I'm in shock. So, I could not believe it. Anyway, this article came out about it because I was researching, like, why would they do that? Like, did he have to go on another show? Like, did he have a say in this? Did he want this? Did he know it was going to happen? And so for the first time, one of the core members of the group died over the course of their high-stakes adventures. The actor behind the character says that they understood it. So I guess this means he understood. He probably didn't want it to happen, but he understood. So they're basically, this is when they're searching for Blackbeard's treasure, and then everyone is in trouble. JJ finds out his birth parents and ringleader the truth about, anyway. So in the last episode, JJ's real birth father has tried to frame the Pogues for murder a lot over the season, and then at the end of the episode. Anyway, just a lot is happening. And I guess the dad just kills JJ. Anyway, I just still can't believe it. But the actor said, when I first found out JJ was going to risk it all and not make it, I understood it. The risks got bigger and bigger, and the stakes got higher and higher. In the episode's final few minutes, John B. narrates a montage of some of JJ's best moments from the show as they mourn over his body. This, like, makes me so mad. And from what I've seen of audience reactions, I think a lot of people are pissed off about this. I don't think this was needed. This, I think, was just, I don't know why the directors did this, because they know it's ending next season. And now I'm glad I'm not going to ever watch this, because this just makes me really mad that they did that. And I know there's a lot of shows where they'll kill off a character, but for me, I feel like a lot of times it's like, okay, like, that makes sense, blah, blah, blah. But this, to me, like, I don't understand this. And again, I haven't seen this season, so maybe it did make sense, but I don't know why they had to do that. And it just made me really upset and mad. And it could have been such a great show. It's kind of like Stranger Things, you know, when you thought your favorite character was going to die, but then they end up coming back, and it's like, okay, thank God. And then the people who are killed off, it's like, okay, at least they weren't like a main, like, everyone in the world loves them character. So I don't think this was a smart decision. But anyway, yeah, that was crazy, and I just had to talk about it. So anyway, all right, timestamp. If you are back, we have talked about it, so you can come back and watch that after you finish the season. But we're going to go into our next story, which is the 2025 Grammys nominations have come out, and we're just going to talk about a few of them. The Grammys are next February. It's going to be the 67th. There are 94 categories, and Beyonce is leading with, I think she had 11 nominations. Interesting. All right, so Album of the Year: Chappell Roan, Billie Eilish, Beyonce, Charlie XCX, Sabrina Carpenter, Jacob Collier, and Andre 3000. They are the ones nominated. Is Taylor Swift not nominated for Album of the Year? Surely she is. Yeah, she is. Okay, they didn't name her. That was weird. Record of the Year: Beatles, Now and Then, Beyonce, Texas Hold'em, Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, Chappell Roan, Good Luck Babe, Charlie XCX, 360, Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us, which is so good, Sabrina Carpenter, Espresso, Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, Fortnite. That's going to be a tough one. I don't know. Song of the Year: again, most of the same ones, but they added Shaboozey, a bar song. Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars is Die With a Smile, and then Sabrina Carpenter is Please, 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 and Not Espresso. Interesting. I find it interesting that Sabrina Carpenter isn't the best new artist, because I feel like she's been doing this for a while. Like, she's even touring. Does anyone understand that? I don't know. So those are the main ones. I think Post Malone was nominated for a lot of Grammys. Obviously, Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan. So I think it'll be interesting what happens at the Grammys. And again, we'll go through all the winners when it happens, but I don't want to bore you guys, because you can look it up if you want all the rest of the nominations. But we're going to hop into our last story, which is about BRYANNA, CHICKENFRY, Zach Bryan, who is the worst. I hate this man. He's an asshole. He is so insecure. He's ugly. And I hope his career suffers from this, because I can't stand men who have to belittle the woman that they're telling them that they love, that they want to marry. I can't stand these men who do that, but then have to belittle the woman because they themselves are so insecure. It makes me sick to my stomach. And the reason I think this makes me really, really mad as well, I was a diehard listener of the BFFs podcast up until, very interestingly enough, last year, because it just kind of got, like, it wasn't as fun to listen to. You could tell Brie was, like, off. You could tell, like, Josh and Dave were kind of, like, always trying to talk about Zach Bryan, but it was all weird. Like, everything about it was weird. And this all comes out that she, this whole year, has just been abused by this man, lost herself. She lost so much weight that she didn't need to lose. And it's just so sad to see her now. Thank the Lord she's out of it and is not in it anymore. Because I'm sure that, like, if he didn't post the Instagram of them breaking up, like, would they still get back together? So we're going to talk about it all. But just, like, I just am praying for her healing. I'm praying that she does, like, I just feel, my heart hurts for her. Anyway, so I watched the whole podcast, and just as a background, people thought and were speculating that Zach and Brie broke up because he was seen on Raya, which is the celebrity dating app. And then a day later, he posts on his Instagram story, you know, me and Brie broke up, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, like, he only did that because he got caught on Raya. Because Brie was like, can you at least give me a week? Like, I want to process this before it comes out on the internet. He didn't listen, of course, because he's the worst human being on earth. And that's why he posted it, because he was caught on Raya. And he didn't want to look like a cheater, even though who knows what else he did to this woman. But anyway, so then Josh and Dave come out with the Smallest Man diss track. If you've heard it, it's so good, so catchy, but they had to take it down. But they're recording it anyway. And then they put out the BFFs podcast Thursday night and laid it all out. I first just need to say, this man, I hate this man. I don't really think I can name a Zach Bryan song besides the, like, Revival one. Like, I just have never liked him, never been a fan. And thank God I'm not a fan, and then I would have to like not listen to his song. Like, I'm just grateful that I never liked this man. So anyway, one thing that was really interesting is they were going to end the BFFs podcast because what was originally supposed to happen is Zach Bryan offered Bri $12 million to sign an NDA after they broke up. $12 million. So he must have done a lot of messed up crap and just been awful for $12 million. And Bri was going back and forth because she said like her family, they don't come from money. So this would like be life-changing money for them. You know, Dave and Josh were telling her like, yeah, like you should take it. But the team, Zach Bryan's team, took too long to get back to her because originally she was going to take the money and then they were just going to end BFFs because they were like, how can we continue on with this if we can't like be honest and like talk about what happened, blah, blah, blah. So they were like, okay, Bri was like, I'll take the money. And then Zach Bryan's team just took too long. And then she said she was sitting on the porch with her aunt looking out and she was like, I don't want to have a home like in a life and think about I have this because of him, the man who like ruined me. And so she ended up deciding not to take it. And honestly, I think I have so much respect for her because I'm sure majority of people, if they were handed $12 million, like they would have taken the $12 million. And so for her not to take it, I think is just, it says so much about her character. And it's honestly like, it's just so crazy. Like 12, I still can't wrap my head around that. I would have assumed maybe he would have offered her like $1 million, but $12 million, like dude's got a lot that he's trying to hide. Yeah, so crazy. Anyway, so she basically just was like, I don't want to be like the women in the past who signed away their experiences and what happened to them. She was like, I want that. Like, I don't want to sign that away. I want to be able to, you know, talk about what happened to me. And she was like, I also didn't take the money to kind of expose everything about him, which I think is also respectful. She didn't go on the podcast and blast every single thing he did. I'm sure there's so much more that he did. And she didn't expose everything about him. She was just like, I don't want him to keep just giving these women money and then going on his way and performing and touring, acting like he's the most amazing man in the world when he's not. And he treats these women like shit. And just crazy. And I'm sure he paid off the last girl he was with. And, you know, she wasn't like Bri, who, you know, has a successful like career to like, I'm sure. Anyway, crazy to me. So what happened with the breakup? So she was on tour with him for like a year. She gave up everything and like went on the road with him for his whole tour, right? So then she wanted to go on tour for herself for 2 weeks, okay? 2 weeks. And they planned it around his schedule so that, you know, she would still be with him his whole tour, but then she would go off on her tour by herself, okay? For 2 weeks. Apparently he couldn't handle her being away like that. And so he texted her like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need you here with me. Like, kind of just ended it. And she's still on tour. And this is a sign of a emotionally abusive, manipulative man who is going to take away anything that's good, anything that's benefiting you, anything that she's doing for herself, like her tour. He's going to ruin it by literally text breaking up with her. So she starts to finish out her tour. And then she goes back because he bought a house for her near her family, and they were supposed to get married and build a family in this house and like raise their children in this house. Well, then they broke up. So he's like, all right, you got to move out. You got to go. So this is what he does. He literally baits these women and then buys a house. We're going to raise a family in here. And then when they broke up, it's like, okay, well, now you have to go. Luckily, Bri has money so she can get out of that. But like the other girl, say she didn't have anywhere else to go. She lived with this man. It's like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to take the money. Otherwise, like, I don't have any place to live. Crazy. So then, he ends up calling her back saying like, that was a mistake. Like, I'm sorry. Like, let's get back together. So then she goes back. Okay. And he then is like, you know what? Like, I need to go back home to Oklahoma. I need time for myself. Like, I just can't do this. And she's like, okay, well, can I have a hug? Because I feel like this is actually the last time I'm going to see you. And he was like, you're being so effing dramatic. And leaves. That's the last time she saw him. And that was when, he goes to Oklahoma, and then that's when the whole he was on Raya thing that came out, and she told him, you know, like, can we at least like keep this off? Like, what was supposed to happen is, yes, they broke up, but she was like, can you wait until like I'm ready and then we can do a mutual breakup post? And he was like, yes, of course. Well, then asshole gets caught on Raya a day after he breaks up with her and then has to post on Instagram. No respect for Brie. And I 1000% believe, like, she had so much love for him. I think that if he just had a sit down conversation, like, this isn't going to work anymore. Like, you know, a normal sit down breakup conversation. Because she said she never got a breakup conversation with him. He just like left, right? I think if he didn't go on Raya, he gave her space and they finally posted a mutual breakup, I don't think he would have needed to, one, offer $12 million. Two, I don't think she would have said anything. I don't think she would have said anything because she did love the man and he has to, I can't. So anyway, she said that it was hard because she didn't even tell her mom, her sister, her friends, and then he posted the Instagram story just so he can clear his name of like, I didn't cheat, we broke up. So then she just goes into a little bit more about their relationship, how he was clearly love bombing her at the beginning. They met at his concert and they went on a road trip together. And right after the road trip, he got her name tattooed on his arm. They knew each other for like a few days. Red, screaming red flag. That is insane to me. And then she said it was perfect, like for 4 months, all lovey-dovey. And then just like that, he like totally switched. And, she said it was just like this cycle of abuse of him just being so mean to her. They'd get in a fight, then he'd apologize, and then it'd be fine. Then a fight, break up, like a whole cycle. And she said she actually broke up with him last October because of this cycle, and she wasn't like fully in it yet. And so she broke up with him in October. She said, I wish I didn't get back with him, but I did. And that's when I really, truly lost myself. And so then last November, her contract with BFFs or Barstool was up. He offered her twice what Barstool was going to pay her to not go back to work and just, I'm assuming, sit on his tour bus and just follow him around like a little puppy. And she was like, no, I'm not doing that. Another thing that was crazy is they were in his apartment. She was singing. She had Morgan Wallen's like last night we let like that song stuck in her head. She was just singing it, walk up the stairs. He turns around and goes, how dare you sing another man's song in my apartment, the apartment that I pay for. And they literally were in a fight over this for a week and he just didn't talk to her. This man is so insecure. Oh my gosh. Then Golden Globes, she went to the Golden Globes, big deal. She posts this beautiful, gorgeous dress. He apparently got mad at her for wearing the dress, unfollows her, unfollows Dave Portnoy, unfollows the BFFs podcast, unfollows Barstool, but yet reposts her picture on his Instagram being like, oh my gosh, she's so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, this man. There was a lot more that they kind of talked about. The last crazy story that she shared at the end of the podcast is that he bought a little house for the weekend for her birthday and invited her friends and family, and he was gonna go, and then he started complaining like, I can't believe like I'm gonna have to miss my tour, or like I can't believe I'm like touring and now I have to come to your birthday, like I'm gonna be so tired. And she was like, then don't come. And he goes, well, no, I'm not gonna not come on your birthday. Like, just so manipulative, like this man. So they go, it's the first night, they're all sitting around a bonfire, and apparently he started like giving like jabs at her friends, like being rude, and she was like, I knew he was gonna like, I guess what I think he has an alcohol problem. I think he is emotionally abusive. I think he was physically abusive. I don't think she shared that or will ever share it, but just based on her reactions to things, she was like, he was just getting like really mean to my friends. And so I was gonna go to bed hoping he would follow me to kind of cut this and like not let it go any further. He apparently didn't follow her to bed, and then she woke up an hour and a half later to all of her friends screaming. They were hiding in the basement. She walked outside. Her aunt apparently was holding like Zach back, and he was just like yelling, screaming at the girls like, you guys are nothing, like you're just living off like your friends' money, like you're never gonna amount to anything, blah blah blah. Crazy. Apparently the friends were recording him when all this happened, and she said the recordings will never see the light of day. What I think Grace, her best friend, recorded it. I think he knew or somehow knew that these recordings were around. I think maybe they paid Grace off or paid one of her friends off to not share the video. That's what I think happened, because she basically said on the podcast like the video will never see the light of day. So I think that was her way of saying like he paid someone off to not share that video. and then she said like he was smashing glass, blah blah blah. And then after that whole incident, she said that he would randomly like go up to Bri and just like start recording her, being like, yeah, do you like that? Your friends recording me, so like, can I record you? And just like continue to do that. Psycho, man. Oh my gosh, this is just, my blood is boiling. She also showed her back of her phone case. It was cracked. She said it was cracked because of him. And that to me was like, I think there is so much more that we don't know, especially for $12 million. I think this man is so scary, the worst. I am just so glad she's out of it, because who knows how much worse it could have gotten. And I feel so bad for her, but I am just so glad she's out of it and that she can heal. Dave and Josh were so supportive. I mean, Dave was showing, you know, texts he was sending to Zach Bryan's lawyer, just being so supportive and willing to end the podcast if she took the $12 million. I wish, like, you can only hope you have people like that on your side if you're going through something like this. And yeah, I'm grateful that Bri shared this and is not going to let this weak ass man pay another woman off, because it's just sick. And I'm glad that he was exposed. And I think this goes way deeper, unfortunately. So anyway, that was the whole story. Obviously, go watch the episode for everything. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Just to see, like, if his career suffers at all from this. There was another story about, like, he was supposed to perform, like, for Noah Khan or something and canceled. And Bri was covering for him, but then she was like, yeah, no, he was, like, way too drunk to perform. So I wonder if, like, these country guys are going to be, like, no, especially Morgan Wallen, like, it's just interesting to see. I'm hoping people who are really, really big fans kind of take a step back. I know there's a lot of hardcore Zach Bryan fans. I don't know. Just interesting to see. So that is that. Really sad, but again, she's out. Hopefully she can now start the healing process and go back to how she was. She said she just totally lost herself. She doesn't even recognize herself the last year, and it's so sad. And I'm also glad that she was a voice for women who maybe are going through something like that, and know that, like, it's okay to leave. You will be okay. And yeah, so that is everything for this week. Dancing with the Stars is back next Tuesday, thankfully, so we'll be recapping that next week, and whatever other hot gossip and hot stories and all of that come out within the next week. But anyways, I love you guys so much. Thank you again for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube if you're watching. If you're watching on Spotify, give us a 5-star review. And I just enjoyed chatting with you guys. As always, hopefully the winter-ish tips helped out as well. And I'll see you next week for some more hot gossip, hot takes, stories, and advice. I'll have you saying, literally what? Bye, guys.